Look what they've done to Star Wars, a wretched rebirth. Tolkien's rolling in his grave as they destroy Middle-earth. I was filled with grief, it was time to make a stand. The social justice story thieves have forced my hand. So I had to write to fight the hacks. I'm letting all of my rage out. I'm StoryMan-Jack.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for another Just the Tip. I'm StoryMan-Jack. So, episode 7, what to do when we're rewriting. So before we got a list of characters, I basically told us the summary of what we're working on with the Fall of Heaven thing. So we're going to get started. And a rewrite, first thing we got to decide is if the first time where we started was correct. So, as you know, I kind of started it last time with it starting from when they woke from stasis. And then I did the background in flashbacks and conversation. So, I'm wondering if this time we shouldn't start before the launch, get the background out of the way, and then get started with the story, have it break. And then I don't like breaking the story though, so that's kind of a con for before launch. We're going to decide if before launch is going to be appropriate. So I would say break story. So what I mean by what a break story, I don't know what other people call it, but when you are working on a story and then you stop, some time has passed, or you switch character POVs or something, and there's a break in the chapter or the story, and you start with somebody else's perspective. I really hate doing that because it breaks, it kind of pulls you out of the story because all of a sudden you're getting a different perspective. So that although that's something that does work. As far as that goes, that's the biggest con to me. Pro would, background would get out the way. Okay. Now, the second con that I see, and please, if you guys see other pros and cons, please let me know in the comments below. Another con that I could see with starting it out before the launch is that I would have to really tell it from the beginning of training, which may make this much longer. So they would have to be children and training for this mission. Now, I could still do that, as, you know, that gives us even better background, especially considering that these are people that grew up together, trained for this mission their entire lives, and then they did it, right? So, but here's the thing. If that's the story I want to tell, it would make it a much longer story, but I would have to completely reinterpret some of the characters to start off as children. And when I say reinterpret characters, it's that I would have to give them a specific arc to grow with that would have to be different than the one I actually gave them. So when you take a character and you take an adult perspective, the arc is going to be totally different than if it's a child or adolescent, because an adult knows the ways of the world a little bit better, etc., etc. They have more established relationships, etc., etc. So that's something that I really would enjoy doing on one hand, but if you go back to doing this and you take these cons in order and you say you're doing all this, but then you're going to have to break the story, right? Because there's going to be a long period where they're in stasis. And I really don't know that I want to do that. I don't know that I want to reinterpret the characters because I have them kind of set in my brain. Now, one of the other things is we can explore better ideas and expand upon the ideas that popped up in the first draft. All right. Another thing is we can build on the godlike relationship with the AI father. Correct? I mean, you know what I mean. So that's one of those things that I would really like to do. Another, we would establish a pattern of behavior. For example, we would establish a pattern of jealousy or sibling rivalry, things like that, right? Now, that goes back to reinterpreting characters, which isn't necessarily a con other than I would have to start from scratch again. And that's not that big a deal. I tell stories all the time. I can start it over. The problem with that is that I've already got something in my head, and that's another con. Now, with that being said, it is good to break perspectives, right? Now, the thing is that you want it to feel organic. And what we're doing is we're doing a super advanced technological society, right? So I'm going to have to come up with even more explanations for pseudoscience and make it sound plausible even if it's not plausible, right? And you do the best you can. I mean, I'm not a physicist, nor am I an astronomer or anything like that, but I do research. I'm not expected to be a physicist or astronomer, right? But, you know, I'm not going to do something like establish a rule and then break it with hyperspace, attacking with hyperspace or something. You get what I mean. It's just horrible. But you have to establish new rules. Now, that just means if we go with this, it's going to end up being either several more chapters added on and I won't start where we started, or we just go with what we have. I'd be interested in listening to what you guys have to say about it, because specifically, since tomorrow is Thanksgiving, I'm not going to do a video. So that'll give you time to comment. And please comment. Let me know what you think. Should I start it before the launch and give an entire background as their children? Or should I just start back from where I began in the first place? And let me kind of give you an idea of where we were in the first place, right? Everything is supposed to stop. The stasis field powered by the external supply of free energy from a fusion plant that would keep anything in a field unaffected by time indefinitely. Time. And how long is an eternity? Testing upon testing for dozens of decades proved out technology. So here's one of the things, the other pros to doing this is that I'm doing a lot of explaining, right? Be able to show better instead of telling. Now, that's one of the things we do in a first draft is we usually tell a lot. At least I do. Now, that was a tell, right? I was telling you what happened instead of showing you what happened through interaction or description or dialogue, right? You want to show by using dialogue how things work, or by using an action that the person is doing, the character is doing, to show the technology, show how things work, instead of telling you how things work. I mean, I'm not writing a white paper here, right? I'm telling a story, and these offshoots into narrative explanation really not only does it break the story, but it's not part of the story. It's not a part of the story. It needs to go. So long as I can establish through dialogue, through action, and through showing how things work, I don't need those explanations. So, but the idea is that originally he woke up from stasis to alarms, to a degraded hold that he was in with his stasis module. That it looks like growths of matter, like say a dirt dauber's nest or something, has grown up around the ship, as if it were ancient, as if it were an archaeological find. And so we go through who he is, who everybody is, what their mission is, etc., which we explained in the last episode. So what I would like to do, I think just from my perspective looking at this now, I would like to do this in such a way that I do go back and I tell the story. Perhaps I tell the first part of the story and then turn that into a flashback. That's what he was dreaming about, that sort of thing. I kind of did that in the first chapter that I wrote previously. I will link that in the description below, so you can listen to that story, that first chapter, and see where I started there. If you would like, please do, and comment on it, and comment on this as you would comment on this one as well. So I think the idea of Fall of Heaven is a great idea. Basically, the creation myth, the Adam and Eve story, told from a science fiction / fantasy point of view. I think that establishing and creating this rich world where an AI controls Earth, and the thing seems to be desperate to find a way to protect the human race in such a way that it would always endure, right? That it is in an aspect malevolent and authoritarian, but it also is taken on the responsibility of protecting and guarding humanity into perpetuity, into infinity. Now, it knows it can't do this, so it has to find other ways to spread the seed of humanity throughout the galaxy. And therefore we have the Adam and Eve myth, where he sends out these people, they come to Earth, they come to a planet, they colonize it, and Adam, Eve, Lilith, all that's there, right? Well, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it on its head and make it, when they do return to Earth, because they could not find, and that's one of the cool things I wanted to do about this, is that they wanted to find, they were out there for millions of years and never did find a place compatible with human life. You know, that kind of plays into the whole biblical center of the universe kind of thing. That a lot of religions themselves tend to preach that the religion is the center of, your spirituality is the center of the universe. And in my faith, Christianity should be the center of my universe. So it's all the little things that we're placing together we want to be sure we get. And in order to do that properly, I believe I need to go back and start from the beginning. I don't want a prequel. I don't want to do anything like that. I want it to be a part of the story. I don't want somebody to come through later and make a prequel, right? If this were a movie, I definitely would not want somebody else making a prequel, or to me go back and be pressured to make a prequel. I mean, dump trunk's full of money, you know? I mean, people can be, I don't think I would do that. I definitely wouldn't do it to bastardize my work, but you know, writing a prequel that I think might be good, maybe it might be self-delusional, and perhaps it might work, but I would rather just get it on the table now so that it is part of the overarching story, and make sure that I got kind of an idea of where we're going. So, in the next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to start off the story. What we're going to do is I'm going to read back parts of kind of what I did a little bit here of what we're doing and rewrite those so you see the actual process of rewriting. But I'm also going to go back and focus on the beginning of the story and make sure I'm showing, not telling, kind of outline it, that sort of thing. So we'll do new beginning outline, and then we will start, kind of guiding our way through the points we want to make. We're not going to tell every second of their story from childhood. We're going to tell basically the story of how they came to be, why they were chosen to be, they were made to be, and what sets them upon their path. The motivations, or maybe even hidden motivations behind the characters, as well as the AI and that sort of thing. So please, join me again on Friday when I do this. And then Sunday, I'm hoping to have a whole story, or at least a whole section of a story, out for your enjoyment and entertainment. So, as I said before, please, I really would like your feedback on this particular thing in order to get it right and give you guys what you would like to hear. And I will go with your consensus rather than mine. Please, if you're not subscribed, please do so. And share this out to your friends, family, loved ones, anyone that you know that might be wanting to learn, get better at telling stories or writing, or who's just interested in looking at a novel. Again, I'm going to link the original episode, chapter, whatever you want to call it, in the descriptions below. So please feel free to revisit that. And once again, just remember that your life is your story. Make it a great one. Good day.